Leviathan.
Leviathan is a sea monster referenced in the Tanakh, or the Old Testament. The word has become synonymous with any large sea monster or creature. In literature, for example, Herman Melville's Moby Dick, it refers to great whales, and in modern Hebrew, it simply means whale. It is described extensively in Job 41 and mentioned in Isaiah 27:1.
Tanakh.
The Leviathan is mentioned 6 times in the Tanakh, with Job 41:1-34 being dedicated to describing him in detail. In Psalm 74, God is said to break the heads of Leviathan in pieces before giving his flesh to the people of the wilderness. In Psalm 104, God is praised for having made all things, including Leviathan. And in Isaiah 27:1 he is called the wriggling serpent, who will be killed at the end of time.
Ancient Middle Eastern origins.
Sea serpents feature prominently in the mythology of the ancient Near East, attested as early as the 3rd millennium BCE in Sumerian iconography depicting the myth of the god Ninurta overcoming the 7-headed serpent. Examples of the storm god versus sea serpent trope in the ancient Near East can be seen with Baal versus Yam, Canaanite, Marduk versus Tiamat, Babylonian, and Atum versus Necht-Kau, Egyptian, among others, with attestations as early as the 2nd millennium as seen on Syrian seals. In the Ugaritic texts Lotan, or possibly another of Yam's helpers, is given the epithets wriggling serpent, and mighty one with the 7 heads. Isaiah 27:1 uses the first of these phrases to describe Leviathan, although in this case the name Leviathan may refer to an unnamed historical political enemy of Israel rather than the original serpent monster. In Psalm 104, Leviathan is not described as harmful in any way, but simply as a creature of the ocean, part of God's creation. It is possible that the authors of the Job 41:2-26, on the other hand, based the Leviathan on descriptions of Egyptian animal mythology where the crocodile is the enemy of the solar deity Horus, and is subdued either by Horus, or by the pharaoh. This is in contrast to typical descriptions of the sea monster trope in terms of mythological combat.
In later Jewish literature.
Later Jewish sources describe Leviathan as a dragon who lives over the sources of the deep and who, along with the male land monster Behemoth, will be served up to the righteous at the end of time. When the Jewish Midrash, explanations of the Tanakh, were being composed, it was held that God originally produced a male and a female Leviathan, but lest in multiplying the species should destroy the world, he slew the female, reserving her flesh for the banquet that will be given to the righteous on the advent of the Messiah, BB 74b. Rashi's commentary on Genesis 1:21 repeats the tradition, God created the great sea monsters, Tannanim. According to legend this refers to the Leviathan and its mate. God created a male and female Leviathan, then killed the female and salted it for the righteous, for if the Leviathans were to procreate the world could not stand before them. In the Talmud Baba Bathra 75 it is told that the Leviathan will be slain and its flesh served as a feast to the righteous in time to come, and its skin used to cover the tent where the banquet will take place. The festival of Sukkot, festival of booths, therefore concludes with a prayer recited upon leaving the sukkah, booth, "May it be your will, Lord our God and God of our forefathers, that just as I have fulfilled and dwelt in this sukkah, so may I merit in the coming year to dwell in the sukkah of the skin of Leviathan." Next year in Jerusalem. The enormous size of the Leviathan is described by Johanan bar Napahar, from whom proceeded nearly all the Aggadot concerning this monster. Once we went in a ship and saw a fish which put his head out of the water. He had horns upon which was written, I am one of the meanest creatures that inhabit the sea. I am 300 miles in length, and enter this day into the jaws of the Leviathan, BBLC. When the Leviathan is hungry, reports Rabbi me in the name of Rabbi Johanan, he sends forth from his mouth a heat so great as to make all the waters of the deep boil, and if he would put his head into paradise no living creature could endure the odor of him, Ib. His abode is the Mediterranean Sea. And the waters of the Jordan fall into his mouth, Beck 55b. BBLC. In a legend recorded in the Midrash called Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, it is stated that the fish which swallowed Jonah narrowly avoided being eaten by the Leviathan, which eats one whale each day. The body of the Leviathan, especially his eyes, possesses great illuminating power. This was the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who, in the course of a voyage in company with Rabbi Joshua, explained to the latter, when frightened by the sudden appearance of a brilliant light, that it probably proceeded from the eyes of the Leviathan. He referred his companion to the words of Job xli. 18, By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning, BBLC. However, in spite of his supernatural strength, the Leviathan is afraid of a small worm called kilbit, which clings to the gills of large fish and kills them, Shab 77b. In the 11th century Piyut, religious poem, Orkdamut, recited on Shavuot, Pentecost, it is envisioned that, ultimately, God will slaughter the Leviathan, which is described as having mighty fins, and, therefore, a kosher fish, not an inedible snake or crocodile, and it will be served as a sumptuous banquet for all the righteous in heaven.
Christianity.
The Leviathan of the Middle Ages was used as an image of Satan, endangering both God's creatures, by attempting to eat them, and God's creation, by threatening it with upheaval in the waters of chaos. St. Thomas Aquinas described Leviathan as the demon of envy, first in punishing the corresponding sinners, Secunda Secundae question 36. Leviathan became associated with, and may originally have referred to, the visual motif of the hell mouth, a monstrous animal into whose mouth the damned disappear at the Last Judgment, found in Anglo-Saxon art from about 800, and later all over Europe. The young Earth creationist opinion is that Leviathan and Behemoth are names given to dinosaurs which they believe existed in biblical times.
Leviathan in Satanism.
In LaVeyan Satanism, according to the author of the Satanic Bible, Anton Son de LaVey, Leviathan represents the element of water and the direction of west. The element of water in Satanism is associated with life and creation, and may be represented by a chalice during ritual. In the Satanic Bible, Leviathan is listed as one of the 4 crown princes of hell. This association was inspired by the demonic hierarchy from the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin in the Mage. The Church of Satan uses the Hebrew letters at each of the points of the sigil of Baphomet to represent Leviathan. Starting from the lowest point of the pentagram, and reading counterclockwise, the word reads Leviathan. Translated, this is, Lvithn, Leviathan. In demonology, the Leviathan is one of the 7 princes of hell, envy, and its gatekeeper, see Hellmouth.
Leviathan in popular culture.